Okay, venerable brothers, Dhamma friends. So we are going to start the English Dhamma discussion. Actually, from next week, Bhante Dhammajiva will hopefully conduct the Sinhala Dhamma sermon as usual on Thursdays. And the English Dhamma discussion will be on Tuesdays after the Sinhala discussion. And we'll be reverting back to the old timetable from Tuesday onwards. And today we are further discussing the Sangyutta Nikaya. That is what we have taken as our series. And basically we discussed Acchenti Sutta. Is it the one we discussed?
Excuse me, Bhante. Last week we discussed the sixth one called Awake. How many are asleep when others are awake?
Jagara Sutta. Right. So that we have completed. Now we can get on to the next one, right? Appati Vidita Sutta. Give me a second, by the way. So we were in Appati Vidita Sutta then. So Ekamantan Titakosa Devata Bhagato Santike Imangatang Abhasi. Okay, now there's another verse where a discussion going between Buddha and a Devata, a deity. And so I invite Venerable Dhamma Alankara to recite the Pali verse and then the Sinhala translation, and Venerable Dhamma Vijita to recite the English translation.
Awesari Sainnas. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. සංයුත්ත නිකාය පළමුවන පොත් වහන්සේ දේවතා සංයුත්තං නල වග්ගෝ අප්පටි විදිත සුත්තං ඒවම් මේ සුතං ඒකං සමයන් භගවා සාවත්තියං විහෙරති 제තවනේ අනාථපිණ්ඩිකස්සාරාමේ අතකෝ අඤ්ඤතරා දේවතා අභික්ඛන්තාය රත්තියා අභික්ඛන්තවන්නා කේවල කප්පං 제තවනං ඕභාසෙත්වා යේන භගවා තේනුපසංකමි උපසංකමිත්වා භගවන්තං අභිවාදෙත්වා ඒකමන්තං අට්ඨහසි ඒකමන්තං ටිතාකෝසා දේවතා භගවන්තං ඒතදවෝච ඒකමන්තං ටිතාකෝසා දේවතා භගවතෝ සන්තිකේ ඉමං ගාතං අභාසි යේසං ධම්මා අප්පටි විදිතා පරවාදේසු නීයරේ සුත්තාතේ නප්ප බුද්ධන්ති කාලෝ තේසම් පබුජ්ජිතුන්ති නප්ප බුද්ධන්ත අප්පටි විදිත.
Okay. Can you repeat the same?
යේසං ධම්මා අප්පටි විදිතා පරවාදේසු නීයරේ සුත්තාතේ නප්ප බුද්ධන්ති කාලෝ තේසම් පබුජ්ජිතුන්ති. අප්පටි විදිත සූත්‍රය සවැත් නුවර එක්ස්පස්සක සිටි ඒ දෙවිතෙමේ භාග්‍යවතුන් වහන්සේ සමීපෙහි මේ ගාථාව කීය. යම් කෙනෙකුන් විසින් චතුස්සත්‍ය ධර්මයෝ අවබෝධ නොකරන ලද්දාහුද ඔහු පරවාදයන්හි පමුණුවනු ලබද්ද නිදිගතා වූ ඔහු නුපුබුදිත් ඔවුන්ට පිබිදීමට මේ කාලයයි. භගවත්තු යේසං ධම්මා සුප්පටි විදිතා පරවාදේසු න නීයරේ සම්බුද්ධා සම්මදඤ්ඤාය චරන්ති විසමේ සමන්ති. යේසං ධම්මා සුප්පටි විදිතා පරවාදේසු න නීයරේ සම්බුද්ධා සම්මදඤ්ඤාය චරන්ති විසමේ සමන්ති. යම් කෙනෙකුන් විසින් චතුත්සත්‍ය ධර්මයෝ අවබෝධ කරන ලද්දාහුද ඔහු පරවාදයන්හි නොපමුණුවනු ලබත්. සර්වඥ බුද්ධාදී බුදුවරයෝ මනාකොට දැන විෂම ලෝකේහි සමව හැසිරේ.
Right. So he recite the whole thing. So you also can recite the whole thing.
This is the Sangyutta Nikaya Bhikkhu Bodhi translation. And this is verse 7, Devata Sangyutta, not penetrated at Savatthi, standing to one side. That Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. Those who have not penetrated things, who may be led into others' doctrines, fast asleep They have not yet awakened. It is time for them to awaken. The Blessed One. Those who have penetrated things well, who cannot be led into others' doctrines, those awakened ones, having rightly known, fare evenly amidst the uneven.
So, interesting area. So, the point is, when someone is not aware of the Four Noble Truths, it is quite easy for them to get on to someone else's maybe kind of a wrong teaching, because they are not well established in the Buddha's teaching. And on the other hand, if someone is well established in the Four Noble Truths, then they are not easy to get on to someone else's belief. And the ones, including the Buddha and the Arahants, they are basically being in the world without much trouble, even though the world is troublesome. So the previous one, the point where, say, when one is not having thorough understanding about the Four Noble Truths, so there's a possibility, there's a vulnerability for them to get on to someone else's belief. So that's a very interesting point, because actually, as we discussed yesterday, this Mahahatipadotpama Sutta, so yeah, Venerable Sariputta is pointing out, Four Noble Truths is very much like the crux of the whole Buddha's teaching. So all other teachings can be included inside this Four Noble Truths. So if one has some idea about it, some thorough understanding about it, definitely they will become more satisfied with it, happy with it. And if they are working or practicing according to it, they start realizing it. So then it is very unlikely that they will appreciate someone else's completely different teaching. But on the other hand, if they don't have such understanding about the Four Noble Truths, so there's a fair possibility they may look into someone else's faith, someone else's teaching, and if they inspire them, they would easily even start following someone else's teaching. That is possible. And on the other hand, you know that till one becomes Sotapanna, one becomes a Seeker, noble person, so still kind of a wavering of mind can happen. Still we can't say you are extremely established on the Buddha's teaching and you are now firm about it and will never shift to someone else's teaching. We can't give any assurance. So till one becomes Sotapanna. But when one becomes a Sotapanna, then a fair chance that he will never shift into something else. Probably you can remember that what happened to the Super Buddha. So there is a leper who is called Super Buddha. So actually at one occasion Buddha was preaching at a junction, at an assembly of people, and the Super Buddha is a beggar and a leper. And he was a little bit hungry and he is in search of some food. And he found that some people are gathered at a particular place. And he also was wondering, there may be something they are distributing and I better approach that place so that I also may be able to earn something, get something, maybe some food. So he also approached there. And then he found, okay, Buddha is there and he is preaching Dhamma. And interestingly, he also sat down and he also started listening to Dhamma. None of the others were able to realize the Dhamma, but the Super Buddha. Super Buddha also was able to realize the Dhamma and he became a Sotapanna. And so the other people, they couldn't actually, but Super Buddha, and he was able to attain Sotapanna. And later, once the sermon is over, now he is leaving. Now the Sakka, the god Sakka, he wants to, in a way, sort of verify whether he is now thorough in Dhamma and he has unwavering faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. And he is telling, okay, he just want to check in a way. And he is not the proper Buddha and he is not the proper Dhamma or something like that. He is kind of trying to challenge him. And the Super Buddha, in a way, directly attack Sakka, telling, who the hell you are? And you are talking nonsense, and this is the Buddha, this is the Dhamma, and this is the correct truth. And even if you say in any way, I am not believing you, I am not taking your word, I am firm in the Dhamma. So such kind of affirmation happens only when one becomes a Sotapanna. So till that, one might have some sort of wavering, some can have a little bit of unsure, maybe certain doubts. And the Vicikiccha, in that sense, is one important fetter that we are talking in the Dhamma. Vicikiccha, the doubt. So you are not yet 100% sure about the path and not firm about the practice. So there's a slipping can happen. Sort of slipping to someone else's teaching can happen. But when one becomes completely free from any doubts and free from any sort of wrong thinking, seeing that the rituals and various other observances might give me full liberation, so that kind of wrong view, and even the Sakkaya Ditthi. So all these three fetters are very important. So if one is able to overcome them, then only he is firm. Okay, I am sure about the path. This is the path. Buddha is the teacher. So okay, I am ready to continue my path, and even without someone else's guidance, he is quite sure about it. He can continue now. So likewise, so one way of having that true understanding, say we can say the Sammaditthi, the correct view, is the Four Noble Truths. So one is having some understanding about Four Noble Truths, indicate that he is now firm, he understands the point. And interestingly, now Four Noble Truths, that model is well represented again and again in the Sammaditthi Sutta. Probably you can remember we were discussing that. Now the model, say there is some theoretical statement which you need to understand, and then there is a cause for that. There is sort of a suffering related thing, then there is a cause for that, and then there is a possibility to abandon that and to get release, and then there is a path. So this is the type of model that again and again repeated in the Four Noble Truths. So there is suffering, then there is cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and a path leading to the cessation of suffering. So likewise, say for example, when Venerable Sariputta explains the nutriments, so he is telling, okay, there are nutriments, and there is a cause for nutriments, there is a possibility to abandon all the nutriments, and there is a path to abandon all the nutriments. So likewise, that model, the Four Noble Truths model, is very important. And sometimes people say it is being later taken into the Ayurveda also. There is a disease, there is a cause of disease, there is a freedom from disease, and there is a remedy, a path leading to the recovery. So it is very much like such model in the Indian traditional medicine, in the Ayurvedic side. They have taken the same model. Mm-hmm.
Could I ask, Bhante?
Sure. Yeah.
They're sure that Ayurveda didn't come before Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was definitely taken from Ayurveda from Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
They're sure about that?
That's the thing.
Because sometimes the Buddha uses past
things,
models.
Yes.
And,
Can. I mean, so Ayurveda, in the sense, as far as I know, so it was well established only after the Buddha, and they have taken certain things from even the Besajja Khanda, which in the Khandakas, the Vinaya Pitaka, there are Khandakas. So there are a particular one called Besajja Khandaka. So Besajja Khandaka has all the different kinds of medicinal, say, prescriptions that Buddha has given to various monks, so at various occasions. And what are the ways that the Sangha has gone through different kinds of issues with respect to their health, and then they approach the Buddha. They are asking various medicines, Buddha suggesting this and that, and then certain people gets recovered, and then someone is not yet recovered, then again report to the Buddha, again Buddha change it. So likewise, various kinds of information are there, all accumulated in the Besajja Khandaka. So it is in the Khandakas. So some argue actually later, for the development of the Ayurveda, they might have look at that, they might have get some, actually that the monks, now inside the monastery, it's very much like a closed system. So they are not much associated with the outside. So inside the monastery, so if someone gets sick, so the monk monks are supposed to give some medicine and take care of themselves. So they become physicians in that sense. So therefore there's a good treating system inside a monastery. So it is what established ultimately as the Besajja Khandaka. And later people like Charuk or someone, I can't remember much detail. So they also come on to this tradition. They start publishing their works on the Ayurveda. Ultimately the Ayurveda being established. Yeah, sure.
I heard that the Buddhist, something about the way the Buddhists, Buddhism in the monasteries, the Buddha's disciples were a model for the hospitals to come.
Mm-hmm.
That have you heard that? That you haven't?
Maybe, but more than that, maybe the universities like Nalanda.
Maybe universities.
University, the Nalanda University.
Okay.
So that is one area they started in the education system. There may be even certain type of hospitals because, for the sick monks, for the older monks, there may be a place to take care of them, and there may be such places they establish. Maybe through the support of the kings, they may be established such places.
I thought I heard that Buddhism was a model for hospitals. But I may be mistaken on that.
Maybe, but I'm not sure about it. Probably true. I'm not sure about it. So the point is now, Four Noble Truths appear like the crux of the teaching, and so interestingly, what is the noble truth of suffering? Can anyone answer?
Well, dukkha, which is unsatisfactoriness, uneasiness, anxiety, suffering. What is dukkha is it's caused by craving.
Mm-hmm.
And it proceeds from birth, aging, sickness, and death are suffering, and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. So this is how suffering comes about, because of birth, because of these causes.
Yeah. So that is the most evident way of explaining the suffering. So basically telling, okay, birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness, death, suffering. So being with the being away from the loved one is suffering. So you have to be with the say someone you don't like is also suffering. What you are not getting what you want is suffering. And the last statement is the most important one. Sankittena panchupadanakkhandha dukkha. In brief, clinging to all five aggregates is suffering. That's the most important part. That's the most important part because that is where the whole teaching is very much like elaborated. So when we start explaining that and understanding that, so that is where the birth, aging, sickness, all that are included very much in that model. So therefore, when you are telling the noble truth of suffering, so it is a synonym for five clinging aggregates. Even to that level it is coming. There is a sutta. In the Khandha Samyutta, Buddha is telling, okay, what is suffering? The noble truth of suffering is nothing but a synonym for the five clinging aggregates. So when you are attached to any aggregate, you are suffering.
I'll remember it, Bhante. Yeah. Having heard it from you just now.
Life in general. Exactly.
Whatever you do is like a coin with two faces. Everything has a good looking part. But when you turn it around, it's suffering. Whatever you do.
Yeah, that's why. Now, whatever condition phenomena are causing suffering, because they are subject to change. So you can't bound to them, you can't attach to them, because they are on their way. They will never behave the way we want. So whenever we take them as we like it, I want it, I own it, like that, then we are going to suffer. because the world is in constant change. It's quite transient. So the idea is, in brief, that's why typically ultimately they come to the solution. Whatever arises is nothing but suffering. What is passing away is nothing but suffering. There is no person, there is no being, there is no any object as such. What is arising is nothing but suffering arises. What is passing away is nothing but suffering passes away. So that is the very supreme type of samadhi. And about it, there is no doubt, there is no perplexity, and he is quite sure about it. And he is continuing his path without someone else's help. So you can remember it's explained in the Kacchanagotta Sutta, very well explained. Dukkhameva uppajjamalang uppajjati, dukkham nirujjamalang nirujjati, na kankati na vichikicchati, aparappacchaya jnanamevassa etto hoti. Ettavatako kaccana sammaditthi hoti. So this is the Buddha's words explaining it to the Kacchanagotta when he was asking what is sammaditthi, what is right view. Yeah, it's very, very interesting and very, very profound. So ultimately you, as you said, you come to the understanding, okay, all the conditioned phenomena are suffering.
Yes.
That's it. That's the bottom line.
The cause.
Translating to the English that what you say, what is the suffering?
Yeah. So you mean the Kacchanagotta Sutta part? So dukkhameva uppajjamalang uppajjati. It is nothing but suffering if something is arising. Dukkham nirujjamalang nirujjati. So it is the suffering which is passing away. Na kankati. You have no doubt about it. Na kankati na vichikicchati. There is no perplexity about it. Na kankati na vichikicchati aparappacchaya jnanamevassa etta hoti. And you don't need someone else's affirmation for that. Someone else's guidance or someone else's approval for that. You are quite sure about it. You are well realized it. You establish in it. And jnanamevassa etta hoti. Ettavatako kaccana sammaditthi hoti. This is the sammaditthi kaccana. So you are coming to now say for example when we are practicing satipatthana. So in one sense we are trying to understand the first noble truth. Say in Kayanupassana we are working on the form aggregate. Thoroughly we are trying to understand the form aggregate. Internal, external form aggregate we are trying to understand. Say in the Vedananupassana we are trying to understand the feeling aggregate. And in Chittanupassana we are trying to understand the perceptions aggregate, formations aggregate, consciousness aggregate. And in Dhammanupassana we are trying to understand all 5 aggregates. So likewise, so we can say the Satipatthana is the practical approach, practical path available for us to thoroughly understand these 4 or 5 aggregates. So the interesting point is when you start understanding it, when you are trying to investigate the 5 aggregates like that, so interestingly the second noble truth also start abandoning. They are very much like bound together. So when you start working on one aggregate, one noble truth, other 3 also start connected with it. Now with respect to the 4 noble truths, which also we need to understand, the first noble truth of suffering has to be fully understood. Dukkhang ariya saccam pariññeya. And the second noble truth, dukkha samudayang ariya saccam pahatabbang. You need to abandon the second noble truth, the tanha, the craving has to be abandoned, pahatabbang. The third noble truth, dukkha nirodhang ariya saccam saccikatabbang. You need to realize the nibbana. The third noble truth has to be realized. And dukkha nirodhagamini patipada ariya saccam bhavethabbang. You need to develop the Noble Eightfold Path. So these are the 4 aspects we need to be very clear. So actually when around this there are 3. First noble truth, second noble truth, third, fourth. Now we have these important parts. Now say for example in the first noble truth, it has to be realized, understood. Okay, it has to be realized. It has to be understood. And in that sense, now say the first statement is this is the noble truth of suffering. So there's a statement. It has to be realized, it has to be understood, and it has been understood. So there are 3 aspects. There's a theoretical statement, what is the noble truth, and what we need to do about it, the function side, the activity side, and then once you accomplish it, okay, I am done with it. So that's the 3 aspects. And the second noble truth also has the same approach. Okay, what is the second noble truth? What is the tanha? So there's a statement defining what is tanha. That is the tanha. And what we need to do about it? That has to be abandoned. Pahatabbang. And once you've done that, okay, I am saying, okay, I have done it. I have completed pahinang. So again, there are three aspects to the second noble truth. The third noble truth. Dukkha nirodhang ariya satchang satchikatabbang. So before that, there's a theoretical statement. What is the third noble truth? That tanhaya tassa eva tanhaya asesa viraga nirodho chago patinissaggo mutti analayo. So this is a statement. So that very craving has to be abandoned, and once it has done, it is completely given up, and now you are completely cooled, calm, tranquil. So this is the third noble truth. And then the function about it, it has to be realized. Satchikatabbang. And once you've done that, okay, I'm done it. Satchikatang. Again, the three aspects. And then the fourth noble truth. What is the fourth noble truth? Okay, that is the noble eightfold path. Samma ditti, samma sankappa, samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma ajiva, samma vayama, samma sati, samma samadhi. Okay, this is the statement, theoretical part. Second part is what we need to do about it. Okay, I have to develop it. Bhavetabba. And once you have completed it, okay, I have done it. Bhavitang. So likewise, for each noble truth, we have three aspects. What we call the pariyatti, patipatti, pativeda. Pariyatti is the theoretical information about it. Patipatti is the functional part of it, what you need to actively do about it. And then the last one, pativeda, that you completed it. So likewise, there are three aspects. That's why altogether it comes to 12. 4 into 3, there are 12 aspects, what we call the Dwadasakara. And now the interesting point that we were discussing is, now once you start working on the first noble truth, 5 aggregates, when you start investigating it, interestingly the second noble truth starts fading away. The tanha start fading away. And time to time you start realize the Nibbana also. Certain glimpse of Nibbana, some shades of Nibbana, you start feeling. The realization starts actually. And what you do altogether is the development of the Noble Eightfold Path. So therefore these four noble truths are very much interconnected. And wherever you start with, the other three are automatically accomplishing. Automatically they also start functioning, also start implementing. You can, in a way, you can start with any place even. Isn't it? Basically we are starting with the first noble truth, and maybe even the second, where you are trying to recognize the, say, craving and you are trying to abandon it. But whatever the way, so the four noble truths are very well interconnected. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. Very important also. Yeah. Dhamma Alankara, you have some?
So then Sabbe Sankara Anicchati and then Sabbe Sankara Dukkha, because we can say, so what is arising and Dukkha is there. So Sabbe Sankara Dukkha. Is that so then?
Oh, everywhere. That's the point. So that's what where Buddha explained to this Kacchanagotta also. You can refer this one.
Duyan Nissito ko
Dvaya Nissito. Dvayan ne?
Dvayan Nissito koyan kaccana loko yebuyena atti tancheva natti tancha loka samudayancha ko kaccana yatabhutang sammapanyaya passato yaloko atti nattita sana hoti loka nirodhang ko kaccana yatabhutang sammappa panyaya passato yaloke attita sa na hoti upayupadanabi nivesa nivesa vinibaddo koyang kaccana loko yebuyena tancha upayupadanang cetaso adittanang abhinivesanu sayang na upeti na upadiyati nadittati atta meti dukkhameva uppajjamanan uppajjati dukkhaṃ nirujjamanan nirujjadīti na kankati na vichikicchati අපරප්පච්චයා ඥානමේවස්ස එත්ත හෝති එතාවතාකෝ කච්චාන සම්මාදිට්ඨි හෝති.
කොහොමද? One of the really beautiful suttas, Kacchānagata Sutta. Excellent sutta, very briefly giving the crux of the whole teaching. So, I mean, very brief, by the way. Extremely brief. You have to elaborate it very well to understand it. And ultimately, as Buddha summarized, that the person who is working in the Dhamma, particularly to the higher level, higher degree. Now, this is not the Samadhi. Now, Samadhi also are two sides. The mundane side of Samadhi and the supramundane side of Samadhi. Now, here directly talks about the supramundane side. So, once one established in the supramundane side of Samadhi, he is very much like summarizing the whole thing. Okay, everything is suffering. Whatever condition is suffering. So he is sure about it, and he say, okay, all the conditioned phenomena are subject to arising, subject to passing away. So what is all passing away? Sorry, what is all arising is nothing but suffering. What is all passing away is nothing but suffering. There is no person, there is no being, there is no thing as such. There is suffering arising, suffering passing away. You're almost suffering.
No more suffering.
Exactly, that's the interesting part. Yeah, so that's the thing. So the point is that ignorantly we are trying to hold something which is subject to change. Subject to change. It's unavoidable. But because of our own ignorance, we want to hold it without making it change. But there is no agreement between ourselves and the other object or other thing. There is no such agreement telling, okay, since you are loving me, since you are attached to me, okay, I am trying to be constant, I'm never going to change. There is no such agreement at all. So ultimately, I being the fool who is attached, I am going to suffer. So that's the point. Now the idea is, now can you keep your mind completely free from any of these conditioned phenomena? Then only you are not suffering. The point, wherever, if you are getting closer to any conditioned phenomena, if you are attaching to any conditioned phenomena, if you are holding any conditioned phenomena, if you adhere to any conditioned phenomena, or even if you have any latent tendency towards any conditioned phenomena, you are going to suffer. That's it, no? I mean, that's the mind. So if your mind is at all connected to any conditioned phenomena, your mind going to suffer. So in that sense, we need to keep the mind completely free from any of the conditioned phenomena. On the other hand, we have to keep it unconditioned. If we are attached, if we are keeping our mind closer to even conditioned phenomena, we are going to suffer. That's why in the long run, so we can't attach to anything. We can't hold on to anything. We can't have any fixation of anything, adherence to anything, and even a latent tendency about anything. And then only you understand, okay, not suffering. That's why here in the Kacchānagata Sutta it is summarizing, Tancha upaya upadānaṁ cetaso abhinivesa anusayaṁ na upeti na nāditthāti attāmeti. So now you are not considering any of these attachments, any of these conditions as myself, me, myself, any of that. So you are completely away from that. You are not claiming any of thing belong to me, any of thing as myself, and you are keeping yourself completely free. Nothing is there. And the moment you get close, moment you claim, you are suffering. Yeah.
That we try to avoid that other things change. We attach to them. We do not want them to change. Mm-hmm. But very often we forget about ourselves. We are also changing every day, every second, until we die.
Exactly.
And we also cling to this. We always live in a world and in a moment and forget that we are going to pass away, to die, that we are going to get sick,
That's
and so on.
Package.
We always, when we are young, think everything is going to stay like this. But we exclude ourselves from this point of view. I think first of all we can accept that things are changing. Other things are changing. Everything, every day
it's easy,
and night.
It's easy to tell that,
but
okay, you are going to change, you are going to die.
Yeah, but to
forgetting
see
about
ourselves,
me.
exactly. Yeah.
I am going to change, I am going to die, I am going to become sick. So that's why interestingly that Buddha wants us to reflect often. In this, there is a sutta, I think Titi Sutta or something, that he is saying that often you need to reflect, I am not someone who is not going to die, but I am not free from death, I am going to die. Similarly, I am not free from aging, I am subject to aging. I am not free from death, I am subject to death. Similarly, few things, likewise, sickness, yeah. So likewise, few things that he is saying, okay, monks, you need to often reflect.
Yes, there are these reflections about the body also, just see how it works and how it deteriorates and how it passes away.
Exactly. So, I mean, we are holding all these 5 aggregates in a way. Aggregates are here. So, the moment that I am associating any of these, attached to any of these, considering any of these as me, myself, going to suffer. That's it. So, how are you going to keep the mind away from any of these? So that's the bottom line. So, in the Upaya Sutta, Buddha in brief says, Upayoko bhikkhave avimutto anupayo vimutto. So, the moment that the mind is engaged with anything, your mind is not free. The moment that you are completely not engaged with anything at all, it is liberated.
Yes, I think when we realize that everything which is not under our control is non-self, our surrounding, everything around us, and even ourselves, our mind, our body, everything is due to change.
Exactly.
And it's not under our control.
Correct.
So it is not, or it is non-self.
Exactly.
And it's none of our business. We have to leave it alone.
Yes.
Somehow.
Exactly. So that's why when we see how impermanent they are, how transient they are, so automatically the perception of non-self is established. So anicca sanya megiya there's a beautiful statement. Buddha is explaining it to Meg here, telling that once you realize impermanence, your mind automatically will establish in the non-self as well. Because things are changing, transient, then how can you have a permanent self? Because extremely transient, either there or here, everywhere. So as you said, it's going to change. Then how can you have a self which is unchanging? So then ultimately you are coming to the non-self. So things intrinsically has nothing, basically.
One question, does this also refer to the misbelief of the individual soul?
Individual soul.
Yeah, individual and permanent soul, which is promoted in other religions.
Exactly.
And in Buddhism we learn that it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Because and the explanation is because it's due to change.
Mm-hmm.
Always changing.
Yeah. So that is very much the primary cause. And basically, as you said, in certain teachings, actually they are also talking about the morality concentration, but as ultimately there is some connection with the, as you said, maybe a higher permanent soul, permanent self, permanent Brahma, something like that. And what you have is a part of it, a small self, small Atma, and you get connected and you become that. So that you consider as the liberation. I become that. I am that. There's a small self here and large self there, and ultimately I become that. I merge with it. But Buddha denies the whole thing, and if you consider there is I here, self here, you are wrong.
But that means that what you mentioned is also due to change. And how can you become that? If
That's
it's
the thing.
Always changing.
That's the thing. There is no such
possible.
that. There is no such permanent that.
No. So you cannot permanently be attached to
Exactly.
it. No.
Exactly. That's the thing. So there is no any permanent thing where you are ultimately going to be with. So as Buddha points out, so once you realize the Dhamma, so you simply say like a lamp extinguish, gone. So when one is realized the nibbana and when he is dying, passing away, so there is no more clinging, there is no more attachment, and he will finish. So there is no he even, there is no person even to die. So the aggregates are operating, there is no person as such. And once the lifeline is done, finished, and as now say for example this light, and I can simply switch off the switch, and where this rays, the illumination will go then? Any direction? So that's a simile Buddha is giving. So when a lamp is there, and assume that either because of a wind coming and it is being extinguished, or either wick is faded away, worn out, and it's extinguished, or the oil is finished, as a result of that it's extinguished. So where this the light, where the light has gone, no one can say it. I mean, it's a foolish question. It's a foolish question because there is no continuity, there is no support coming through the oil. It has gone, finished. Because there is no wick, it has gone. Or since the wind is there, it has gone. You can't say it has gone to any particular place, but it has extinguished. That's it. Because there is no support. So same thing with the beings in a way. So there is a being because we have certain support, the upadana, the fuel coming from. So once the upadana is not there, there is no such being either, and he simply vanishes. We can't say that exactly.
Can say vanish.
Can't, definitely we can't, because there is no even a person as such. Yeah.
Yes, I think I have one terrible question. If we are due to change, how is it possible that karma sticks to us?
Karma, sorry?
That it sticks to us, that it's part of our way. So the karma is always connected to us while we die and are reborn. Mm-hmm. So we have to accomplish the karma we had in the life before. Mm-hmm. So how does it stick to what if there is no soul?
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
How does it go from one life to another?
Exactly. If there is no person,
if there is no matter, no person, no soul, no energy. If it dissolves every time, how does this karma stick to who?
So this is exactly the question. Now there is one occasion, this is explained in the Punnama Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. So and a certain monk is asking series of questions from the Buddha, and he is explaining about the 5 aggregates, and ultimately there is no person, there is none self, all that. And another monk was doubtful about it, as you. So he is doubtful. If there is no self, then how come the karma going to accumulate? So then Buddha says, okay, the point is, when you are acting with ignorance and craving, naturally there is a person. So you are operating as a person, as an individual. So the potential to accumulate karma is there because of the ignorance and craving. We can argue telling that there is no person, no self, we can argue. But when we are acting ignorantly and with craving, with the support of craving, there is a person anyway operating, a sense of I operating, and there's a potential that you are gathering a kind of a momentum. So mere theoretical understanding of it is not enough. So that is why when one becomes an arahant, there is no such ignorance or craving at all. So whatever the activity he is doing does not accumulate any karma. So that's the point.
So that means as long the ignorance is about myself, that I think I am someone or I am somebody.
Yeah. And under such presumption, I am working, I am acting.
Yeah. So as long as this illusion exists, I exist in a form, and karma
some form. I have the sense of I. Till I have certain even a subtle form of ignorance, I have the sense of I.
Yeah, which also means when I am gone, the karma is gone.
Craving. Yeah.
Which also means when I am gone, when I know you, not ego anymore, the karma also dissolves.
Exactly. Okay. So that's the thing. So more you are developing the Noble Eightfold Path, So Noble Eightfold Path is defined as the Kammakkaya path. So you are developing a path to completely evaporate karma or to nullify karma. So you are not accumulating karma. So it's a different form of karma. So there are three categories in that sense. One category is the unwholesome karma. The other category is the wholesome karma. One part of wholesome karma is the Kammakkaya type of karma, where it is capable, it has a capacity even to nullify the whole karma. So basically means that it does not create new karma. Khinam Puranam Navannatti Sambhavam. You know that in the Ratana Sutta it is mentioned, Khinam Puranam. All the past karma is now faded away, vanished, completed. Navannatti Sambhavam. There is no new generation of karma. Viratta Chitta Ayatike Bhavasmin. With a completely detached mindset, he is continuing his life. That's the Arahant. So even though he is continuing, he may be preaching, he may be acting, he may be helping, this and that, he is doing a lot of things, but no accumulation of karma. Because he is not operating with the ignorant, craving type of mindset. So he is completely free. That's an interesting thing. I mean, we can theoretically say there is no self, but it is not enough. So when I am killing an animal, so I am operating with ignorance, with craving. So there is a potential to accumulate karma in such a background. But the moment that you are completely free from ignorance and craving, so you are doing various things, but still no accumulation of karma at all. Kammakkaya is done. Exactly. No coming back. You are done. So the one type of fuel is finished. Now it's like say while you are driving your vehicle, in between your fuel finished. You are now running out of fuel, but still the vehicle is moving because of the previous momentum. But you are very sure it's going to stop. Because no support coming, but still continuing because of the past momentum. So this exactly happens to the Arahant. So while he is alive, he realized the Dhamma and he become the fully enlightened being, enlightened person. Now no more operation of the ignorance and craving coming in, but he may not die, isn't it? The aggregates are still operating. He may not die, but at the death there is no continuity. There is no future birth. It's like the vehicle stopped. Very interesting. Yeah.
Excuse me, Bhante. Yes, I just realized when you're talking about that, in a way, the five aggregates working, it's like this body continues because of the past karma that it was born.
Exactly.
And here's this body that's going to continue, even though maybe I've become an arahant. If I had become an arahant, then this body would still continue.
Exactly.
And because of the past momentum. Which the momentum of karma is why this body is here.
Yes. And still you are supporting it through the food.
Yes.
Through the food and water, oxygen, everything, all the supporting conditions are there. So the body is continuing, but still not permanently. There is a day that body will die. Since it is a conditioned phenomena, so ultimately it will also die. Then where is going to reborn? No such thing at all. Nothing is there to reborn. Even though you can say there is an Arahant, there is no such person. Very interesting area, I mean. Outside, exactly. There's a Buddha, this is the Buddha, this is the Gautama Buddha, this is the Sariputta, this is the Moggallana. They can simply point out because of their outer appearance. Internally, there is no person. Very interesting. I mean, these things are very, very interesting. How to realize even these things, isn't it?
Say, Bhante, excuse me, just to kind of bring this back to the verses that we're reading, and I've been watching, and I've got the commentary of Bhikkhu Bodhi. It's, the first verse was, those who have not penetrated things, who may be led into others' doctrines, fast asleep, they have not yet awakened. It is time for them to awaken. And Bhikkhu Bodhi points out that, or in some of the commentaries that he notes, having not penetrated things refers to the Chatusatcha Dhamma, which is the things of the Four Noble Truths. And other doctrines that they speak of is interestingly connected with views, specifically the doctrines of the 62 views of other spiritual sects. We can be drawn into those.
62 wrong views.
And then on I don't know if this has very much interest for us, but when he says, the Buddha says, those awakened ones who have rightly known fare evenly amidst the uneven. Those awakened ones refers to Sambuddha, which is, there are 4 kinds of Sambuddha, awakened ones: the omniscient Buddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas,
Arahants.
Yes, the 4 truth awakened ones, i.e. the Arahants, and the awakened through learning. And the first 3 type are the ones that they're talking about in this particular sutta, which is the omniscient Buddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, and the Arahants.
Arahants, yeah. So they are the fully enlightened beings.
And so
there is no more birth for them.
Do they have a different function or different way of being, the 4 Buddhas? All the same?
Realization is the same, but their capacities are different.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Samma Sambuddha, he is self-realized, self-enlightened, and he has the capacity to teach others as well. The Pacceka Buddha also self-enlightened, but he doesn't have the capacity to teach others. The Arahant, on the other hand, can't self-realized, so he needs support coming from the Samma Sambuddha. And then he has the capacity to teach. It depends also. He might or might not have the capacity to teach another. Something like that. 4th one is I am not familiar. I don't know what it is.
It says, those who awaken through
Learning?
Learning.
Also can become Arahat, right? We heard only 3. It's not
only 3. There are two types of Arahanta there. So that is the one who doesn't have the psychic or rather the concentration powers, and the one with the concentration powers. But both are Arahants. Ubato Bhaga Vimutta and the Panya Vimutta. Ubato Bhaga Vimutta are the full-fledged Arahants. So they are fully enlightened, all the fetters are abandoned still, and they have the capacity to attain jhana also. So they are called Ubato Bhaga Vimutta. The other ones are the Panya Vimutta. They don't have the concentration powers, but they are fully abandoned the defilements, so asavas are abandoned. They are still Arahants.
Excuse me, Bunny. Wouldn't that be the ones that have attained Buddhahood by learning? Yes,
maybe, but typically they explain it as the one who liberated through wisdom, Panya Vimutta. Panya Vimutta is translated as the one who liberated through wisdom. Ubato Bhaga Vimutta is translated as the one who has liberated from both sides, Panya and concentration. Samadhi and Panya both are there. So he is the full accomplished Arahant. The other Arahants are Arahants, but they don't have the concentration powers. So the defilements are cut off, particularly through wisdom.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. So anything more? Yeah.
Sorry, Bhante, I've sort of been accumulating questions just for the continuity of the discussion.
Okay.
I just want to ask them all together.
Right.
First one is yesterday on the way up to the vihara, there are these sharp concrete steps. So yesterday I cut my foot on one of them and I was just thinking there were feelings of anguish, feelings of dispassion, and I was thinking this body of mine, and this is just one of the least painful experiences I can ever have in this samsara.
Good. When you are looking like that, very good.
Yeah, so I was just imagining there could be far worse things that could happen to me in this body. So I was just thinking how to get rid of this body once and for all. Second point is this. He said Kawacha Gota Sutta.
Kachanagotta.
For those of us less experienced in the Sutta Pitaka, where
it's in the Sangyutta Nikaya. Sangyutta Nikaya, Actually recently I have made a Dhamma sermon on that. If you like, you can listen that. It's in the Nidana Sangyutta, Sangyutta Nikaya, Nidana Sangyutta.
Sangyutta Nikaya. Okay, I should be able to find it that way. Thank you.
Yeah.
And last point is, I've been reading some material on sunyata, and one thing I remember is that they said when sunyata arises, that emptiness, no me, no I, no world, no this world or that world, in that moment, one has consummated the Noble Eightfold Path. Because, for example, when you talk about right speech, when there is nibbana, when there is emptiness, that is beyond right speech or wrong speech. So that is the highest form of speech. And so the same with all the other factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Do you agree with that?
Now, typically, you can refer Maha Chattarisa Sutta also in the Majjhima Nikaya. So there Buddha say, so when one attains like that, so you are already establishing the sila. Very much like you are establishing the sila. So Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva. So are the three factors coming under the sila. So very much like it is already accomplished, like you are done with it. You are establishing proper sila, and that is fulfilled in a way. And the samadhi part and the panya part is what now you are working on. And the samadhi is well balanced, and panya is now operating. The vipassana is what you are developing. At one point that also completed, so then you become a sotapanna basically. So that is the point. Now when one attains sotapanna means that you fully realize the Noble Eightfold Path. You arrive the Noble Eightfold Path. You start appreciating it. You start arriving it, and you realize it. Okay, now I further have to develop it. Okay, I have good sila. I have to maintain the good sila. I have to maintain the good samadhi, and I have to further develop the wisdom. So through your own practice, you realize it. It's not from a book now. So from your own self, from your own practice, now you are sure, okay, to maintain good sila, I have to have the samadhi, I have to have the wisdom, develop the wisdom, so then I can continue the path. So you have arrived the path. Sota apanna. Sota apanna means the stream. Apanna means you have approached that. You have come to that. You understood that, or you arrived that. The one who has arrived the path, arrived the stream.
Some other places it is called stream winning. You have won the stream.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So therefore, the Noble Eightfold Path, as you have mentioned here, little different. Like say it's beyond speech. Other than saying beyond speech, so you are already established on the correct speech. Like, yeah.
Okay, so we just aim for that emptiness, and the Noble Eightfold Path will automatically be fulfilled.
So basically, now say for example, you're practicing Satipatthana, and you are arriving or accomplishing a state of mind which is not attached, anything at all. So your mind is now not attached at all, not grasping at all. And now, while being there, you need to continue to develop this Noble Eightfold Path. So there are 3 stages in the Satipatthana mentioned. The first one is called the Satipatthana, the establishment of mindfulness. Second one is the development of further vipassana, that is the Satipatthana Bhavana. Third one is called Satipatthana Bhavana Gaminincha Patipada, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. You can refer, there is a sutta called Vibhanga Sutta in Satipatthana Sangyutta, Vibhanga Sutta. So there are these 3 stages are well explained. What each one of them Buddha explains. So once you arrive this unattached state, there you are trying to very much like develop Noble Eightfold Path. because you know, okay, now you have some understanding about the samadhi, panya, all that, you have some practical experience, and as a result of that you have some experience about the unattached state also. So that means you found the path, like very much like, okay, I'm now there, time to time I can still stay there, but still not stable. Still not stable. So I have to further straighten it using the same path, Noble Eightfold Path. Yeah. Okay. We have spent almost 1 hour. I think we have covered the first, the second, both verses. Anyone coming from outside, joining from outside?
Bante?
Yep.
Yeah, just now I received from chat question.
Mm-hmm.
May I present it?
Sure.
Yeah. Theruvan Saranai Bante. Actually, when we consider the Sangha, Sanya level here, we seems to be addicted to this process of attaching ourselves with suffering. Sri Jnanarama Mahathero mentions that because of the mental proliferation. Sorry, Bante.
Mental proliferation.
Mm-hmm. We automatically find the path to suffering. Please explain this to us.
So it is not Sangha, but maybe it is Sanya. Can you repeat the question by putting Sanya?
I think Sanya, Bante.
Yeah.
Let me repeat again.
Yeah.
Theruvan Saranai Bante. Actually, when we consider the Sanya level here, we seem to be addicted to this process of attaching ourselves with suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sri Jnanarama Mahathero mentions that because of mental proliferation, we automatically find the path to suffering. Please explain this to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can say so. So, I mean, whenever we get on to proliferation is the papancha. So, too much thinking, overthinking, obsessive thinking. So, the thinking is going on internally. That means complete obsession is there. So, you are suffering. You become helpless because you can't stop yourself now. The mind is talking, ruminating, proliferating. All that is going on. You are in utter mess. You are in utter suffering. So, it's obvious. So the moment that we are at the level of proliferation, that means you are in complete worrying, lamenting, crying, obsessions and all that is there. All the mental anguish is there. On the other hand, as probably hinted there, so the Sanya has a great relationship. Sanya Nidana hi papancha sankha. So the Sanya, these marks, signs, all that are the very root cause of the prolific tendencies. So our mind is in a way thinking. So in order to trigger thinking, so these little signs, little marks are actually causing. Little marks are there, little signs are there. So all that actually invites us to think. Asking us to think, okay, why don't you think about me? The Sanya is always talking to me and asking me to think about me. Very much like that. So Sanya Nidana hi papancha sankha. So the Sanya, that those little marks, little signs are the root cause of different magnified kind of prolific tendencies available in our mind. So with that we are tempted to think. We are motivated to think. I am triggered to think, so I am thinking, ultimately get on to the proliferation and suffering. So that's why the taking nimittas is the one of the root causes of suffering. So if you are getting to anger, root cause is nimitta, patika sanya, patika nimitta. And if you are going to lust, again the root cause is nimitta, called the subha sanya, subha nimitta, nimiti. So that's why we are trying to develop the animitta. So the path is helping us to taking your mind to the animitta. Even though you see, you are not picking the signs. Even though you hear, you are not picking the signs. So the mind remain calm, uninvolved, not mixing up with any of these nimittas. So animitta is very interesting area to explore. Yeah.
Excuse me, Bhante. So sanya is one way I've heard it described is conceptual identification, because it's perception or cognition, but it's when we perceive something, it's because we remember it and we know it by a name, like this blue mat. So that's because I remember that this is blue.
Yeah.
And so So that's a sign, blue.
Correct.
I like blue. It's very beautiful.
I don't like it.
I start to think about blue.
Yeah.
I see it. Oh, there's another blue thing
So
over there.
we can fight each other because I don't like it, you like it, so I can fight with you.
I just want, yes.
So
I don't like this guy that likes blue.
I have to chase him away. Why is he wearing blue?
Thank you. I just wanted to bring another kind of angle to
Exactly. So that's why. So all these sanya are stored in our mind.
That threw me for a long time. What is sanya? Perception. What is, conceptual identification? Identify.
So we have all these little pieces of information stored in our mind. The next day that when I see something, so I quickly take certain signs from that and map with the stored information. Then mapping happens, this is it. Recognize it. So the whole recognition is totally dependent on the sanya. So the sanya, the name also meaning the recognition. That sanjanati tiko bhikkave sanyang vadami. Sanjanati means recognizing. Very interesting. Yeah.
In Madhupindika Sutta, we heard Marichakupama Sanya.
Actually, it is not in the Madhupindika Sutta. It's in the Penapindupama Sutta. Penapindupama Sutta. So Marichakupama Sanya means it's a mirage. So saying, okay, even though it appears like water, it is a mirage. It's not water. So point is, now say for example, I am saying it is a book. Okay, because I given it a name and I had previous perceptions about it and all that. But now actually I am seeing it as a kind of an image inside the Nama Rupa, name and form. But that name and form, I am considering it as a solid thing. I make it as something. So always, I am objectifying all my experiences. So different objects are there. He's a person, he's a monk, he's another monk, he's another monk. You are a lay person, you are a lay person, I am a monk. So we are individuals. So we are sort of solidifying the whole thing. We are solidifying things, we are objectifying things. So we have a lot of objects then. So I can then hate another person, love another person. I like another thing, I want thing, I hate thing. So we have things and individuals. But actually what we are picking are the little signs. Through signs I am creating a person and objects. So that's why the signs are merely mirage. Even though it appears like water, it is not really a water. So it's very deep in a way. So the sanya, the perceptions, therefore Buddha giving the simile of a mirage. So the sanya coming together and it is creating a vast something, but actually there is nothing as such. Falsifies thing. Yeah, it's not real. Now say for example, I am saying he's a monk. Now what is operating there is also 5 aggregates in the proper sense. But I am objectifying things and I am telling, okay, he's an individual, he's a person, he's a good monk, he's a Kenyan monk. I can have all that combined together, have a big thing. I'm attributing something, attributing a person. So it's my attribution in a way. in here. Outside is just a flux. Things are operating, things are changing, things are continuously changing. But I am grabbing them and objectifying them, considering them as permanent.
I noticed...
That's right, Bhante.
Yeah, we have a question coming from our side.
I noticed that as soon as you give anything a name, you don't actually see what it is anymore. You give it a name, you give it an image, and then afterwards you do not see the reality anymore. You just stick to this image.
Exactly.
For instance, I notice that very often when I go through the forest and I see the trees, I notice them and I say to myself, a tree. But I don't not even look anymore exactly what it is. So I don't see the reality, I see the image of it. And this happens to other things also, to people. Whenever I see someone for the first time, you get a more or less real image or a real sight of the person. But then afterwards, when you give it a name, when you have the first contact with this person, you start creating an image which is not the reality anymore.
That's the perception.
Yeah, so the first image is always, or the first
some
impression
information is there.
Yeah, there's a saying, there is no second chance for the first image. So
Correct.
And then you can really more or less see how things are, how people are, but afterwards you start creating something in your mind.
Exactly. So we are operating with the preconceived perceptions in a way. So I have a perception about all of you, and now I don't want to learn much about you. I know about you. I have perception about it. I am completely taking it as the truth, and I am simply operating based on that. I don't want to change it anymore. Not even allow it to change. And I have fixation about, okay, you are like this. Something like that. Very true. So that's why, I mean, if we are accepting, okay, this is a mere perception. And if you are talking about the individual sense, okay, even though I have a perception about an individual, this perception also is subject to change. That person can change. He can grow, he can, get into downfall, all things can happen. So the perception I am carrying can't be a permanent thing. It's a mere perception. So if I am looking from that angle also, it's helpful, isn't it? Rather than thinking, okay, this is a perception, this is the correct perception, I'm holding is not going to change. So then I'm going through some fixation. Yeah. Niranja, back to you.
Yes, Bhante. There's one hand raised. Can I allow him to talk, Bhante?
Yeah.
Yes. Geshan, you can unmute.
Nissarana, Bhante.
Yes.
I hope you can hear me. So I really appreciate this discussion, the series, how you conducted in English and Sinhala and Pali, all three together. Hopefully, we will be able to hear this kind of a series later on as well. So I wanted to give credit for everybody who participated here, because as you said, next week, Dhamma Jiva Swamin Vansa will conduct and moving on with that Sinhala. So my appreciation, because being here far away just to listen, and I feel that I am there and engaging with this conversation. And I hope others also are feeling the same as well. And with that, I want to thank all the recipients, all the contributors towards this Dhamma discussion. So I just wanted to pay that respect. Now, with that, I have a couple of questions and observations as well. And so, beginning when you start this conversation, you said that when one has the good understanding or has realized the Four Noble Truths, and that is unshaken, so you are not being sort of willing to take other type of teaching, which might sort of, and you gave a good example as well. Few weeks ago, I asked a question about a dana, and I think this basically gave me the answer to that as well. Certain type of, I don't have to. I think I understand what that what that dana basically means from your conversations as well. So I think the start of the conversation gave the clarity, and so that is a statement. And then my question, with this 5 aggregates that what we have, or what we always sort of struggle with, which is that dukkha creates on, and you also sort of said the third is to realize the five aggregates, and then you came into the first and the second, third, and the fourth, which is the first is to understood, and the second is to that is the tanha, to pahatabba, which is basically to let go of it, abandon, and the third is to realize. My question to you is the realize thing. You won't be able to realize if you haven't sort of let go of the tanha, or how does that sort of correlate? How does that sort of connect?
Yes. There's a strong connection. So that's why Buddha defines Nibbana as the Tanhakhayo Nibbana. So it's well related. So once you abandon Tanha, so you already realize Nibbana. So the path to Nibbana is the abandonment of Tanha. So it's very much like the same, two sides of the same coin. So as you are abandoning Tanha, to that extent you realize Nibbana. So once you completely abandon Tanha, there is nothing else to do. You are in Nibbana. Tanhakhayo Nibbana.
So is that so the third is to being realized of that you have already abandoned, and now the fourth is basically to experience what you have realized, or to use it. Is that how one should be sort of?
Yeah, we can say so, because the thing is, so once there is no craving, there is a possibility that I might not notice it. I might not appreciate it, because you know that the mind is, when the mind is in some sort of an agitation, we can easily notice it. Once it is cool, calm, we easily sleep. we don't appreciate it. We don't be with it, dwell with it, or appreciate it, because we feel it boring. We feel it kind of lethargic. But we need to understand, okay, there is no any aberration, there is no any friction, there is no any agitation. So mind is cool, calm. Let me be there. I like it. So it's a kind of a very pleasant abiding. So that's why we need to have some sort of a different look when the craving is abandoned. There's a calmness, there's a coolness, there's a clarity of the mind. There is no any friction, there is no any unsatisfaction. There is no any unrest. Kind of a calm contentment is there. So you need to notice it. You need to appreciate it.
Yes. So thank you so much, Bhante, and thank you once again for all the contributors as well, because this might be the last discussion that Tunuran Saranai.
Yeah, Tunuran Saranai. Okay, I think we can wind up the session. So we have spent almost 1.5 hours. I cordially invite Venerable Dhamma to conduct the sharing of merits.
Thank you for your teaching today, Bhante, and for all the participants. May our relatives and all beings share in the merits produced by today's teaching. May all celestial beings share in the merit produced by today's teaching. And may the celestial beings protect the Dhamma exposition and dispensation of the Buddha and his disciples for a very long time. And perhaps the seeds of the Buddha's teaching that have been planted in our hearts and minds may grow, producing path, fruition, and nibbana. I invite you to join in the recitation of the traditional Pali verses for sharing the merits.